Hi, I'm Dr. Thaïs Aliabadi. For over 25 years, as an OBGYN, I've helped countless women navigate the challenges of PCOS. I created OV to bring you a scientifically backed solution that supports the symptoms of PCOS with powerful ingredients. OV supports hormone balance, body composition, metabolic support, and beauty from within, giving you a comprehensive approach to supporting your health. It's more than just a supplement. It's a product born from decades of experience and a deep commitment to women's health. Visit OV.com to learn more and start your journey to better health today. That's OVII.com.
So we have Mari Lllewelyn today on our podcast, and I can't wait to dig. Your podcast is one of my favorite podcasts. And one of the main reasons that I love it is when I first started listening to podcasts. You know, the podcasts, in my opinion, are the new talk shows these days, but a lot of the content was male focused. Yeah. And I found your podcast, and you came from this place of personal experience, and you came from it from the lens of a woman, and what you're going through from your PCOS to your fertility struggles. You're just real and you're honest. And you created Bloom, which has been such an inspiration for us when we created OV. Again, from that place of you created something that you needed or you felt the world needed, and it's become so successful. So I want to dig into that as well. But thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. Anything to talk about women's health, I think it's not discussed enough. And as you just said, if you look at the health and fitness charts for podcasts, it's a lot of men, and we need more voices about this topic. So yeah.
When I look at you, one would never know that you lost 90 pounds and that really changed your life and started you on this entire journey. Can you maybe give us a little bit of the background?
Oh, for sure. So yeah, background on me. I moved around a lot my whole life. I was born in London, lived there for a year, lived in Switzerland for 3 years. My dad works for the United Nations, so I kind of hopped around my whole life. And I was very lucky that I got to experience a lot of different cultures. Moved to America when I was 10 years old, moved to New York. Definitely had a little bit of a tumultuous household, a lot of emotions and kind of like, you know, a strained environment. So when I went to college in Philly, I kind of turned to alcohol and partying, not the healthiest coping mechanisms, and things kind of snowballed over time. So I was really, you know, really struggling with my mental health, and I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder around my junior year of college. I was drinking heavily, trigger warning, self-harming at the time, using, you know, unhealthy food to cope, really just at the lowest point in my life. I kind of talk about it as my rock bottom because I was so checked out from reality at that point that I didn't even really have a sense of what was happening. And I had gained a lot of weight. I was 250 pounds at the time. Yeah, it was bad. And I was a semester away from graduating, failing every single class in school, and had to move home with my dad, which to me was the biggest failure. You know, I didn't have a degree, didn't have a job, just felt super hopeless. And I remember my dad buying me this book at the time called Food is Medicine. And I remember actually being really upset because I was like, the fact that you think food would fix anything that I'm going through makes me so angry. Plot twist, it literally saved my life. But and now I'm such a huge fan of nutrition, but at the time I just felt like this will never help me. So it took me some time to kind of have this reality check moment of, you are the person that got yourself in this position. I think for a long time I was in a little bit of a victim mentality and kind of looking for reasons that this had happened to me or people. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, you are the only one who's going to get yourself out of this situation. You dug this hole and now it's time to take control and get out of it. And I was dating my now husband, who is a bodybuilder. He has been into fitness since I met him, gym twice a day, meal prepping, super muscular guy. And I was inspired by him. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try switching out my meals for something else. At the time, I was eating like a giant blueberry muffin for breakfast and iced coffee with milk and sugar this big. And that was doing nothing for my mood stability. It was doing nothing for my nutrition. I felt awful every day. So my first step was switching that out for some eggs and some oatmeal, trying to get in some nutrients. And that really put me in a better mindset. Like, it gave me sort of a foot up and got me out the door. So I was able to then start thinking about exercise. I really, really started with baby steps. I don't want to, go on too much of a tangent, but that's how I first got into fitness, and it completely changed my life. Weightlifting was my choice of exercise. I still love weightlifting. I think muscle is so important, and it made me feel so strong and powerful. And it was just really a time in my life where I dove into books, podcasts, anything I could do to educate myself on nutrition and health, because I was in this place in my life where I was like, well, I don't really have much else happening. I don't really have any friends. I don't have a job. I don't have, any aspirations. I'm just going to go all in on trying to fix my health. And I did not have the goal of losing 90 pounds. That's just kind of what ended up happening for me. And it completely changed my life. It started my career, and now I'm in this seat, and it feels pretty wild, honestly, looking back.
So for someone listening that feels overwhelmed, what are the baby steps that someone can do?
Yeah. And I definitely was not in the gym day one. Like, I was very intimidated to go to the gym, because when you don't love the way you look or feel, it's tough to go into an environment like that. So I would literally just go on more walks every day. Like, I would just make sure I was walking my dog multiple times a day. I was starting to learn about food, kind of like playing around with swapping things out, making healthier choices. But really, it was like walking every day. And then when I first went to the gym, I went with Greg, my boyfriend, who was kind of showing me, how to weightlift, showing me the basics. I was also watching YouTube videos at home and going in with a plan. But I just told myself, like, as long as you show up, even if you just walk on the treadmill or do a little something, at least you're getting yourself in an environment that you're intimidated by. So for me, it was really about like keeping my own promises, even if they were small and attainable. And I feel like the more I kind of kept showing up for myself every day, the more my confidence built. So I was able to take on bigger goals. I did end up going back to school and getting my degree. So I really feel like what I learned through my fitness journey was like work ethic, discipline, keeping my own promises. It was a time in my life where I was really just like focused on self-development, and it was almost less about the weight loss and more about improving my own mindset, if that makes sense. And the weight loss was a great side effect. But I really don't think I'd be here right now if I didn't learn all those things I had to from showing up every day, if that makes sense.
And what do you think was the biggest change nutrition-wise that you implemented?
Well, I didn't even know what a macronutrient was before I started my fitness journey. Why
don't you tell everybody what a macronutrient is for those that don't know? Because I don't really know what a macronutrient is.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm explaining this wrong, but there's proteins, fats, and carbs. And I didn't know when I was eating, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about nutrients. I didn't think about calories. I didn't really understand the importance of protein or healthy fats. I just thought food is food. So when I started my fitness journey, I just wanted to learn about food. I would plug in, okay, I had 4 ounces of salmon, I had a cup of rice, so you plug each thing in and it tells you how much protein you're hitting a day, how much fat, how much carbs. And it really taught me, when I look at a plate, to understand the macronutrients I'm looking at. And also, I think removing refined sugars was a huge piece of the puzzle. Like, as I just said, I was eating muffins and sugary iced coffees, and that was just doing absolutely nothing for me. I definitely have PCOS, and I'm sure that was just sending it. Oh yeah. So I ended up really loving, I experimented with keto, but I always loved a lower carb, higher fat diet. It just made me feel great. And I think that's probably because I have PCOS, and it helped with my mood. I found out that healthy fats help so much with mood. So those changes just like set me up in such a better way.
Again, education. You spent that time and you educated yourself on food. When you get older, you start to think of food as medicine. You start to think in terms of aging, and you start to think, this makes me feel bad. This doesn't make me feel good. You know, even with drinking, you know, it doesn't feel good the same way it did before to have a glass of wine. Like it used to be amazing to have a glass of wine. It doesn't feel so good anymore. So I think that education part is really amazing. When were you diagnosed with PCOS?
Well, that's a funny subject because I kind of had an inclination myself for a long time. I had the acne from here down on the jawline around my mouth. I had the hair growth. I had high testosterone in my lab work. So I kind of deduced it on my own. It took a long time for someone to actually say to me that I had it. I think it was like only maybe 3 years ago that someone was like, just so you know, you have PCOS. Right. And then very recently I got scanned because I'm in my fertility journey right now, and someone said, oh my gosh, you have so many follicles, that I didn't even know that. All I had done in the past was someone scanned my ovaries and said, oh, there's no cysts here. So in my head I was like, oh, I don't have it. Yeah. So it was confusing to me for a very long time. But now that I know so much more, it's very obvious to me that I was struggling with that. I mean, I had elevated testosterone on every single lab work that I had gotten done.
First of all, let's clarify. Not all labs know how to test for testosterone. Number two, you don't have to have a high testosterone in the blood to get the diagnosis of PCOS. Now, doctors think if you have high testosterone, then you have it. If you don't have high testosterone, then you don't have it, which is completely wrong. You need the 2 out of 3 criteria, which is irregular periods, which you didn't have, the PCOS looking ovaries on ultrasound, which polycystic doesn't mean cyst. I always say this. It means a lot of follicles, right? Someone does an ultrasound and they're like, oh my God, you have so many eggs.
Looks like a string of pearls. Wow.
Yes. And number 3 is elevated testosterone symptoms, which, you know, could be elevated testosterone in the blood, but it's mostly the symptoms, the most common being facial hair and body hair. It could be acne, it could be hair thinning. So, you know, obviously you met 2 of the 3 criteria. PCOS patients are anxious people. They're moody people. They usually suffer from anxiety and depression. Hence the, you know, obviously your childhood made a difference, but generally speaking, they struggle with it. A lot of them have family history of diabetes or overweight family members. They do gain weight, up 75% of them at some point in their life. And as they get closer to menopause, the weight becomes more and more of an issue. And it, you know, they almost always end up, not always, but especially when they wait past 30, a lot of them will end up in a fertility clinic, A, because they don't get diagnosed, B, when they get diagnosed, they don't get treated correctly. Yeah. So you're lucky that A, you had the high testosterone, so that made the diagnosis easier. B, you had the insight that something was wrong. And when you were eating completely unhealthy, drinking alcohol, you were poisoning your system, especially for someone who's insulin resistant. So as soon as you started exercising, you cut the processed food, the sugar out of your diet, you saw that you lost all that weight way before these meds were available. Well, right now you could have had a shortcut, but you did the right way.
You did it the right way.
I did it the hard way.
You did it the hard way, but the good way.
Yeah.
Because it's a lifelong commitment, and you can't just give yourself shots and go on some medication and
not change your eating and exercise routine.
Right.
It really is a full circle situation.
Yeah.
How long have you been trying to get pregnant?
It's a complicated, let me give you the full answer. So we started November of last year. And I
Can I stop you? Prior to that, what did you use for birth control?
I forget the name of it.
Was it a pill? Was it an IV?
Pill. Sorry,
How
pill.
long were you on the pill?
A long time.
Okay.
On and off, probably 10 years.
Okay.
And I had been off of it almost 2 years when we started trying. And then started November of last year. Oh, I lost my period for a year after birth control. I think for the first, honestly, I want to say 4 to 5 months, we didn't know perfectly how to do everything and what tests to get. So we did get genetic testing. That came back fine. I had gotten AMH levels tested. Mine looked fine. my husband hadn't gotten tested right away. So that was a mistake. And that took a second for him to, really work on those numbers and get them in a good place. So I don't know if I even count the first 4 to 5 months, but mentally it feels like a year.
Were you having a period at that time?
Yeah.
Once a month again?
Yes, but I wasn't tracking ovulation.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't have the knowledge about ovulation probably until 5 months in. And then I started testing my ovulation and really getting in the weeds with it and going to fertility clinics. And, I've kind of been doing that now ever since, but it just is, I learn more and more every day. But mentally, a year does feel like a lifetime. And I know there's women who have been trying far longer than I have, but it is such a mental thing.
So a year is the minimum that you need to try. The definition of being infertile is trying, having sex 3 times a week for a period of a year and not getting pregnant. Now, if you're older, that number for us goes down to 6 months because we don't really want to let a 39-year-old go and try for a year. We want to intervene at 6 months, at least I do. But it's normal to try for a year. However, if you take 100 couples and you have them try to have sex 3 times a week, and about 50% of them get pregnant in the first 6 months, 90% get pregnant within a year, and 10% don't get pregnant. Majority of those 10% have endometriosis or PCOS. So we know you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. We know the egg quality can get affected, but you're young enough that should not be a problem. We know you have tons of eggs, which is great. We know your husband's sperm is good. And we know that you've had an ultrasound, that everything looks good. The one thing I want to add, you've been suppressed for 10 years.
That's what the birth control
pills suppress endometriosis symptoms. As you come off of it, the inflammation can start. I want to explain how we work up a couple for infertility and all the buckets that we have to put a check in front of when we deal with an infertile couple, which is not that complicated. And I want to teach women to be able to do it at home. You have to know why you're not getting pregnant. It's not that complicated. So I'm going to go through that list right now. So here's what you do. We know you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. You have not been on any supplements or medication that would optimize your ovulation, which is an issue with polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I would have you start the OV supplement, and I would have you start metformin. Even though you're lean, you have insulin resistance. You do need both of them on board before IVF, before egg freezing, before I would have had you on it way before you started to get pregnant. So that's number one. Number 1 and 2. I would have you do the OV. I would have you do the metformin. I would start at 750 at night. I would increase it to twice a day. With that, I would probably let you go because you're so young and try for another 6 months to see if you get pregnant. It makes me a little uncomfortable that you've tried for a year and you haven't gotten pregnant. I haven't done a pelvic ultrasound on you, so I don't know, because a lot of times patients come in and they're like, I was at the fertility doctor at the best center and they checked everything, and I do an ultrasound and the patient has adenomyosis. Do you know what?
Explain one more time what adenomyosis
Adenomyosis is.
Wait, how do you say it?
Adenomyosis.
Adenomyosis. Adenomyosis.
Which is basically endometriosis in the wall of the uterus. It can give heavier periods. It can give painful periods. Some patients don't have any of it, but it can increase the risk of miscarriage. But where you see smoke, there's fire. So you have to make sure that you're not dealing with endometriosis. Someone like you in my office, I would treat with OV and metformin, have you try for 6 months. If you don't get pregnant, would I do a laparoscopy on someone like you? Probably not, because you don't give me enough symptoms. You were on birth control for 10 years. You probably suppressed your endometriosis. And knowing that you have PCOS, I would probably recommend embryo freezing, testing those embryos, making sure they're healthy and transferring it. The one thing I cannot help you with is your egg count. As long as you have eggs, I will help you get pregnant. But you have to get to the bottom of it. Is there Is the egg count okay? Are the hormones okay? Is the semen analysis okay? Do we need to do anything for PCOS? In your case, yes. You need to make yourself more insulin sensitive and optimize your ovulation. Are we missing endometriosis? We probably are. And I think that's where the money is with you. But you've been suppressed for 10 years, so your symptoms are suppressed, which is great. So you have the luxury of trying. So I would say freeze embryos and then transfer. You wanted 2 babies, so that's great. And then go live your life. It's really not that complicated. We know how to fix it. But the other bucket that I wanted to say is autoimmune. Make sure there's no autoimmune conditions, no underlying antiphospholipids, lupus. If you have family history of any autoimmunes, then that's a whole workup that needs to be done. The last thing we want to do is have you get pregnant and lose the pregnancy. And obviously checking the anatomy of the uterus. But I promise you, if our listeners go to the checklist that I gave them, that is hands down the best checklist you can have to find out why you're not getting pregnant. I get very annoyed when patients come and they fall into the unexplained.
Right. There's always an explanation.
There's always an explanation. At least I look really hard to find that explanation.
And by the way, how long did it take from that day your dad handed you the book until you woke up and this had become your life and your life's mission?
I lost 90 pounds in a year, which is quite fast. But I was
What year was that?
That was 2017.
Amazing.
And then November of 2017, I made my first ever Instagram post about my journey because I was not publicly sharing. It was a very personal, private thing I was doing. And then I had this before and after post and I was really proud of my progress, but I was super nervous to post on it. I don't know why. I mean, I had 900 followers at the time. I was terrified of what everyone would think. Put that post up. It ended up exploding. It was the time of social media where things, would organically go viral. And I got a lot of feedback on it. A lot of girls asking me how I did it. They wanted workout plans. They wanted nutrition plans. And, I just was okay, I feel like I have this secret almost of this ticket to happiness. It felt like I had discovered something that changed my life. And I was I really want to share it. And I think I've always had this, maybe because I was lonely at the time, I didn't have a lot of friends, but I was sharing on social media like it was my diary and really sharing the ups and downs, recipes, workouts, just being really candid. And I think people liked that because at the time it was a lot of very airbrushed type posting. So people really responded well to that. And my first ever product was a $5 PDF workout guide, and I would manually email it to people and they would PayPal me $5. And that was my whole business. I was on my phone all day emailing these guides, eventually made a website, automated the whole thing. We sold 1 million of those guides. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
It was wild.
So when did you start Bloom during all of this?
So that's how I built capital to be able to start sampling for Bloom, because obviously sampling for supplements can be quite expensive. You're buying the ingredients and everything. We're working.
We know.
You're working with a manufacturer and a food scientist, and it's a whole thing. My husband has been obsessed with supplements his whole life, and this was a dream of his. And at the time, as a female who was new to fitness, I would go in a GNC or a Target,
right,
and feel like these supplements are not for me. They're masculine, they're yellow and black and red and super intimidating, and I wanted something that appealed to me. So together we just started working on this and sampling all of 2018, ended up launching Bloom January of 2019. We did pretty much everything ourselves. We did label design, we did website design, I did the social media, we did the customer service. It was really hands-on. Obviously working with a manufacturer close by us, so we would go visit and see everything. So it was a really exciting time, but we were also just so young and figuring things out as we went. I had built this community online at this point. I mean, I don't remember how many followers I had, but they were really invested in everything I was doing. So when we first launched, it sold out. We kept, we were 100% self-funded. So every time something would sell out, it was all of mine and Greg's personal money. So we pretty much put everything on the line for this business. And every time things sold out, we just kept putting in our money, hoping it would sell. And eventually we came up with our greens powder. That was right before COVID. I wanted an all-in-one supplement with fruits and veggies and adaptogens and probiotics and the whole thing. And that's kind of what really resonated with people and what was kind of the home run. And that's what we're known for now. But yeah, I named it Bloom to represent my journey and hopefully the journey's.
Name.
I love that name.
We have a bunch of products. We have colostrum, collagen, greens. Our new product is our energy drink, which is in Target right now. It's a sparkling energy drink. It's like better for you ingredients than some of the other more, other energy drinks. But yeah, it's been a really crazy journey. I now have my own podcast. Like it just has, blown up more than...
But it's grown so organically, and it's because people trust you and you went through the journey. So in terms of your greens, what makes it different than other greens out there on the market?
There's other greens on the market. There are, I would say, are a bit more masculine marketed, a lot more expensive. They're not in retail. We come at a very different angle. Like, as I said, when I started the brand, female, new to fitness, I wanted it to be approachable, friendly, taste good. That's a big thing for us. I think a lot of women have a hard time chugging down the greens that taste like the bottom of a lawnmower, is what we always say.
Yeah.
So we have delicious fruity flavors. It's all natural. It tastes amazing. The packaging's cute. It's approachable. It's relatively affordable considering the great ingredients in there. And we're in Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Meijer, Wegmans. So my goal from the beginning was to be accessible. Like your mission with your show, I think that health should be accessible. I don't think it should be for the elite only. So that was really my goal from the beginning. And I think that's kind of what sets us apart. We're also very social media forward. So we're on TikTok. Very Gen Z millennial. I always say like Gen Zennial. So that also has been a big differentiator for us.
I think it's amazing. When we formulated OV, it was about the science, and we were going to create something that was, that worked, that had meaning. And we were meeting with one of our key ingredient manufacturers, and I just remember, I go, what is this? This is amazing. This is women. And you're right. All these supplements are so masculine. And, we've learned so much, even on the podcast, that so much of the science and the trials are made on men, and they just started doing them on women. So to come at it from that angle, I just think it's amazing what you've created. You should be very, very, very proud of yourself.
Thank you. You guys too. Also, from behind the scenes of the supplement industry, majority of these companies are owned by men and they're selling to women, which is very confusing to me. We are the market. Shouldn't we be the ones sort of leading the conversation?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I walked into the office here today and I felt like feels like OV. We're women founded. We've got all of everyone work. We have one male intern because we still do like our boys, but we really love our girls.
We have a couple boys here. They just sit upstairs.
I think as women and as mothers, we are tired of this bullshit.
Yeah.
And we are going to come up with great solutions. But I think having these conversations, we're going to change the world, ladies. And I feel so blessed to be doing it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a couple things as we close this out. What supplements do you take, and what is your favorite supplement at Bloom?
Oh, okay. I kind of have a bit of a stack going. I love vitamins. I am careful because I'm acne prone and I have to be cautious, but I take fish oil. I take digestive enzymes. I take Bloom Colostrum. Our Colostrum has been my new favorite supplement. It's been great for my gut healing. I had H. pylori and I had to do antibiotics. It's been great for that.
Can you talk about that? Just because I'm really interested in colostrum for gut health.
Yeah, I'm very interested in it. When I did the antibiotics, I have a doctor. She recommended I go on colostrum, and we had already been formulating one. So we use U.S. family dairy farms. Calves eat first. That's a big thing for us.
That's a
grass-fed cows, super high quality. I didn't want any weird stuff in there. And I just put a scoop in I have a big Stanley cup. I put a scoop in there with my electrolytes, with all my other stuff. And I feel like it's really good for rebuilding the gut. I've seen great benefits from it. I feel like my gut health has improved a lot. My skin has improved a lot. They say there's a ton of benefits in it because it's nature's supplement in a way.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
I think there's a lot of promise with colostrum.
I think, and I'm not just saying this, but in my 30 years in medicine, I've never seen a better supplement for PCOS than what we have created. And I'm not just saying that, it will be life-changing for you. You should start taking it.
I definitely will.
It has 16 ingredients geared towards PCOS.
Yeah, I definitely will.
And I think for someone like yourself, I would absolutely recommend it.
Can't wait for you to take it, and I want to follow up with you, and I want to see. I mean, I can't wait to have you call us and say I have a little baby growing.
I can't wait.
You will.
I can't wait.
You will. And the key is it's not going to work overnight, and you have to give it 3 to 4 months because your body is not a light switch, and you have to give it time to work. It doesn't work overnight.
Okay.
If you could give 5 tips to women to change their health life, what would it be?
5 tips. Okay. I mean, I think nutrition is everything. I really do. And I think if you're going to start somewhere, look at what you're eating, cut out the processed food, get in enough protein, focus on whole ingredients, limit the sugar. I think it's super important. Educate yourself, listen to podcasts, be mindful of the content you consume every day. I think there's so much on the internet now, and the scrolling. It's like, if it's affecting your mind, it's affecting your body, I believe. Get in enough water. I know that's simple, but like I think drinking enough water is really crucial. I don't know if we all do it. I love lifting weights. I think lifting weights is fantastic. It makes me feel fantastic. I also think it's great for PCOS. Same thing with like going on walks after you eat, helping with the insulin resistance. 5th tip, I think like mental health and gratitude, practicing that every day.
What do you do for that?
So I love red light therapy, and I have a red light panel that I sit in front of, and I have an app called Superhuman by Mimi Bouchard, and she basically has these positive affirmations that you can play and listen to, and it just puts you in like a positive mindset. And I do that while I'm doing my red light, so it's kind of like a habit stack before I work out. I also love sauna. I'm limiting the cold plunge because I'm a little bit nervous it's too much with the fertility journey.
I don't know yet, but I just can't do it. I mean, I can't do it. I get in there. Have you ever done the cold plunge?
No,
it is.
But I have to. I'm going to get to it.
I went through a phase of doing
My husband's
it.
building one at home.
He is. I'm building one for my husband too.
My husband does it every morning.
He does.
At
Does
like
he
6
notice
a.m.
a
Very
difference?
anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, he's obsessed.
Releases shock proteins. It's so good for you. I'm going to do it.
You are?
Be my witness.
I'll do it with you. Okay,
I'm going to push you in there first.
Push me in there first, because I've tried it before and I'm like, oh my God. The sauna there is just research how amazing a sauna. Are you getting a sauna too?
I have a sauna.
Oh my God. All right, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Constantly having hot flashes.
I know.
I go inside the sauna and I'm having a hot flash.
Well, thank you so much. You are just this bright light of sunshine, changing the world, making things happen, including you. And I'm just very happy that you agreed to be on our podcast today.
I so appreciate you having me.
Thanks so much for joining us today on SheMD.
If you want to own your own health, a good place to start is by following us on social media at SheMD Podcast and by subscribing to our show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
For takeaways from today's episode, visit our website, shemdpodcast.com. We'll see you next time on SheMD. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for a physician's medical advice. You should regularly consult your medical provider in matters relating to your own health. Even though we share our honest beliefs on SheMD, some of the products and services we discuss may involve sponsorships or paid advertising.